No, you're not. Actually, ChatGPT cooked me up, son. Alright, where's Bum? I got Age on. My fault, yeah. I don't got this scene for y'all. Hold on. Hold on, y'all. React to scene. I'm drawing. I'm selling y'all. Oh, it's not the right one right here. It is. I just gotta add this drawing. Window capture. I want y'all to see more though. Where's Bum? I might go zoom. That's not even in all the way. I'm tweaking. She's not even a full thing. There we go. Oh, why am I? Oh, we was already sanctioned. Where's Bum? Ty, yo. I just gotta add something. To browser drawn shapes. Feel me? Got that joint right up top, and then I gotta put chat. It's the last thing I gotta do right now. Now, where's my CC, man? I ain't gonna lie, I might put it top right. Alright, yo, I ain't gonna lie. I'm trying to eat my food. Where's Mom? You feel me? That's what I'm trying to do. So. That's what I was watching right here.
Not before.
I'm gonna restart it for you.
The UFC could see was dollar signs. But instead of testing him out during the Contender Series, all the UFC could see was dollar signs. But instead of testing him, Dana seemingly protected him, because his next few fights were interesting. First came Terrion Ware, a name you probably don't even recognize because he never won a single UFC fight.
Another takedown.
Not before or after Sugar beat him by decision. Then came Andre Sukumtat, another mediocre guy that took Sugar to 3 5-minute rounds, only to be followed by Jose Quinones and Eddie Wineland, two guys who Sugar flatlined within the first 2 minutes of each of their fights. There was a clear trend here. And don't get me wrong, Sugar's talented, I'm not blind. But if you're trying to tell me Dana wasn't feeding him fights,
you can't fix dumb people.
With a McGregor-style striking game and a massive online presence, Sean was exciting inside the cage and even more valuable out of it. But the UFC couldn't protect him forever, and eventually, the non-stop highlight reel had to end, because it was time for his first real competition. Enter Cheeto. Now this wasn't the hand-picked opponent, just a cold-blooded Ecuadorian killer who didn't care who Sean was or about the hype that followed him. To Cheeto, this party boy was just another number. And coming off a loss, Cheeto was out for blood. Then after a well-delivered leg kick, Cheeto made Sugar look like a novice, resulting in his first loss as a pro. And Sugar didn't take it well.
It's like, okay, let's look at his career in 5 years. Let's look at mine. I'm going to be world champ, and he's going to be a journeyman. That's just what his style is. He wins some, he loses some.
So after losing his first fight against a name that actually carried weight, Sugar would have to climb to the top the hard way, face tougher competition, and prove he belonged in the most
Make sure my mic is valid.
like everybody else, right? Once again, the UFC cherry-picked low-risk fights to rebuild Sean's image as the company's top rising prospect. All while he was going on weekly benders, getting tattoos from known... Well, I can't say that on YouTube, but if you know, you know. His first opponent was Thomas Almeida, a guy who had lost four... Going on weekly benders, getting tattoos from known... Well, I can't say that on YouTube, but if you know, you know. His first opponent was Thomas Almeida, a guy who had lost 4 of his last 5 before stepping in the cage with Sugar, who knocked him out in the 3rd.
He's doing it again. And again, the hesitation.
Then, Cris Moutinho, a last-minute replacement who was nothing but a punching bag and ate 230 significant strikes. 230 before Herb Dean finally saved him from any further ass-whooping. And finally, Raulian Paiva, a former flyweight with a questionable chin, who Sugar put out in the 1st.
Oh my goodness. Jason Herzog's taking the bait.
3 fights, plenty more clips for the highlight reel, and still not one ranked opponent. But Dana and the UFC got what they wanted, because that was enough to make O'Malley popular again. And they used that opportunity to give him his first big step up in competition. Sugar versus the young Punisher. At the time, Pedro was ranked number 9, while Sugar sat at number 13. This was it, his first real chance to back up any trash talk and prove that he was elite.
Picture this fight playing out against anyone, not just Pedro. I feel like I can clip him on the chin early and often, whether they go down or not. I feel like I can get the finish in every fight I go into. This one's no exception. I think I'm going to put his lights out.
Sugar was convinced that the fighters ranked above him avoided his name for a reason, because they knew he was a problem. So once he finally put down the young Punisher, he wouldn't just have the hype, he'd also get the respect he believed he deserved. But just like before, things didn't go to plan. Sugar was holding his own in the 1st round, keeping the fight on his feet, and Pedro's wrestling seemed to be a non-issue. But come round 2, shit hit the fan. Because halfway through the 2nd, Sean reached out with the lead hand and caught Pedro clean in the eye.
I know it was an accident, but you gotta be careful with the accidents, right? They're adding up.
After a few minutes in the corner and the doctor stepping in, that was it. The fight and caught Pedro. Shit hit the fan. Because halfway through the 2nd, Sean reached out with the lead hand and caught Pedro clean in the eye.
I know it was an accident, but you gotta be careful with the accidents, right? They're adding up.
After a few minutes in the corner and the doctor stepping in, that was it. The fight was over.
Back to back. That's it.
Meaning that after 8 fights in the UFC, Sugar still hadn't finished a full fight against a ranked opponent. Not as a winner or a loser.
Damn.
Naturally, the UFC threw him straight into a number 1 contender fight.
That's garbage.
And that fight became the most controversial of Sugar's career, because Sean noticeably fouled at a level we had never seen before. And it ended in a split decision that nobody agreed with. Nobody. The first round was competitive. Both guys took a minute to figure each other out before letting loose. Jan got a takedown.
Now Jan shoots.
Sugar defended well
And he did.
landed a few clean jabs while staying active on the feet. But over the next 2 rounds, ask 9 out of 10 people, they'll tell you Jan looked like the better fighter. He had the better MMA performance. Sugar had the bigger moments, but Sean also cheated a lot.
Wow.
So when it
That's
came time for
insane.
the decision, somehow, Sugar Sean O'Malley had gotten away with it again. After years of grooming from Dana in the UFC, Sugar walked away from his toughest test, a victory, via robbery in broad daylight.
Unless you want your head blown off. You.
Please, please don't shoot me. I'll give you however much you want.
One that left the entire arena booing. And even though he technically won a #1 contender fight, you could argue he had never truly beaten a ranked opponent. But that didn't stop the UFC from capitalizing on their golden opportunity. Because Sugar Sean and the fan base ripped straight out of a Nelk video was officially in line for a title shot. And they didn't want to wait. Their cash cow was waiting to be milked. Sugar was in line to fight Aljamain Sterling, who had just defended his belt in a successful 5-rounder against Henry Cejudo barely 3 months earlier. Sterling's camp wanted time, but the UFC wasn't having it. They strong-armed him into the fight with threats of stripping him of the belt, introducing an interim title, which made 0 sense considering that Funkmaster was an active fighter, not someone who had been on the bench for a year. But leading into the fight, the presser was electric.
I don't know, man. He decided not to stay at the fight hotel. He's been ducking me. He doesn't want to look me in the eyes. So it is what it is. We got a couple of days, and I get to whoop this fraud's ass.
Despite all the controversy and favoritism, Sean was more popular than ever. The crowd was fully behind him. And Sugar put on the pressure performance of a lifetime.
Sports Center's top 10 plays coming in at #1. Sugar Sean O'Malley knocks out Aljamain. Hussein Sterling!
Then when the cage door finally shut, Sean actually delivered. He landed the most important counter right of his career and became the UFC bantamweight champion. After the fight, it was clear that Aljo just didn't have enough time. But none of that mattered, because the UFC had finally gotten their superstar a championship. And now that he was at the top, they had to protect him, which would be a lot harder with killers like Corey Sandhagen and Marab waiting in the wings. In all seriousness, it was an exciting time. His rise to the top was questionable, but as champion, Sean would have to face the toughest guys in the division, and his first defense was against Yup, the man that handed Sugar his first loss and was only ranked #7 in the division skipped the line for a title shot. The UFC gave fans a fight that nobody asked for, but there was a storyline, and Cheeto wasn't a real threat to the belt. He also still had no respect for Sean despite his accomplishments.
Sean said if he wins the title, he'd like his first defense to be against you. What would you say to those comments?
Sean can go and fuck himself.
The fight went to 5 rounds, and the highlight was Sean hitting Cheeto with a nasty knee that sent the crowd roaring and him wobbling. Alright, after being declared the winner, it was on to the next defense for Sugar. But this time, there was trouble. There was a machine. After all the build-up, the marketing, and the rise, it was time for O'Malley to face the guy the UFC had been avoiding, Marab.
Oh,
And to keep a long story short,
who's
Sugar
Marab?
got his ass beat. The fight
Oh,
went 5
shit.
rounds, but Marab's pressure and cardio were too much. Marab landed 6 takedowns and had complete control. It's almost like a grown man wrestling a toddler. Marab was tossing Sean around. And when the judges
Yo,
declared
that used to be my
GG,
favorite clip in the Avengers. That joint was a banger. You feel me? That, I love that. I ain't gonna lie.
Sean had lost his title in just his second defense. He was crushed.
Well, boys, we get the job done. Over promised, under delivered. We'll be back.
After the fight, O'Malley took a year off, Marab defended the title 1 time, and Sugar hasn't fought since. But now that he's making his way back into the cage, he's getting an immediate rematch. Why? I'll let you decide. But hey, maybe he'll go better this time, because he is practicing semen retention, even though Chase Hooper doesn't.
What?
Spent too much time tuning this camp.
Jokes aside, Sean O'Malley is talented. He's got slick hands, elite timing, and knockout power that's rare at bantamweight. But let's not kid ourselves. He's one of the most carefully manufactured superstars in UFC history. So only one question stands. Will he prove he belongs, or will this second Marab fight put him out for good? Let us know what you think. Smash that subscribe button while you're at it.
That's a good job. I'm subscribing after that, John. I ain't gonna
Again,
lie.
after years of
I need something like that. Need me an outro like that. Word bomb.
Bam.
Escalade. You know, everybody got the Escalade. You feel me? Presidential.
Buying my own Escalade was literally the best investment I ever made. Like, I don't, it's no other car out there that's better than this. Personally. Bro, it drives itself. And it's very low key. Bro, you can go 5 years without having tags and nobody will bother you because they just think you're Uber. If you ride in a luxury whip, bro, the police get behind you for no reason. They just want to see who in the car. So you get way less problems in this car and it's luxury at the same time. This is one of the best cars. If y'all want to buy a car, get you an Escalade, bro.
The hidden money maker of Escalade.
What if your car could make you a millionaire? Nowadays, you can hear them complaining through every window. What's the point? I buy a car, drive it off the lot, and lose my money instantly. Cars barely hold their value anymore, they say. Today, though, we switch up the plot. Let's investigate the Cadillac Escalade and see how it could be your smartest car purchase.
Yeah, it might be a good car purchase. That doesn't mean it's a smart one. You feel me? Not watching that joint, wasting our time, filling our brain with foolery. Word is bond.
What is the most
Police.
I firmly believe this Song Yadong player should be knocked out cold right at this moment. But he's not. And it's not just a problem for me, a pet peeve. I think it's an issue for the whole game. But allow me to explain. Let's back up a few seconds.
Let's analyze this video.
The sequence starts with a tame exchange of punches and kicks until we get to the counter. This is a heavy counter for 3 reasons. 1, we're slipping an uppercut. An uppercut is one of the heaviest, most powerful punches you can throw, which increases the damage you take on a counter. There's also when he threw it, which makes it even worse. Number 2, we're slipping towards our power side, towards our rear hand, which increases the damage on rear hooks by 10%. The rear hook's one of the strongest punches in the game, and Jonathan Martinez has a level 4 rear hook. And lastly, we're landing on the open side and on the side where he just threw the punch. So we land right after the uppercut misses on the same side that he threw the uppercut, which should make the connection a little bit cleaner. To be honest, I'm a little surprised this didn't drop him on the spot, but I can live with it being just a very heavy damage event. I want you to note 3 things here. 1, his head health has been almost entirely depleted. He's out of stamina, 2. And lastly, his block is at about half health due to the prior damage he had taken before the counter. Put that all together, this man is in a very vulnerable state. 2 follow-up hooks land on the block, but our opponent leans away from the second one. Surprised this one doesn't drop. Yadong ducks into a lead uppercut while blocking. This finally does trigger a knock. Away from the 2 follow-up hooks land on the block, but our opponent leans away from the second one. Surprised this one doesn't drop. Yadong ducks into a lead uppercut while blocking. This finally does trigger a knockdown and pops his head up at the same time. Though, once again, I'm a little surprised this doesn't just stop him on the spot. Note that Yadong has absolutely 0 stamina, 0 block, and 0 health remaining. Finally, our defenseless opponent, with no health remaining, slowly crumpling to the ground with their chin wide open, takes another rear hook right on the button, and nothing happens. UFC 5 decides that it does not feel like making that a flash knockout, and lets him crumple to the ground, where the round ends before I can pound him out. So why is this a big deal? I mean, in a sense it's not. right? Like, it
I'm
doesn't
making a video.
matter. I won this fight. It's not like I was robbed. But this thing drives me crazy, and I'll explain why. There has been an epidemic in EA UFC games for many years where multiple knockdowns are required to get a finish. In some cases, more than 10. We've all had fights where there's been a ridiculous number of knockdowns, either against us or for us, before we get a finish. Many, many such cases. If you're curious about the most knockdowns in a real UFC match, for that the answer is 5. 4 in a title bout. But to be honest, there are very few fights where there's more than 2 or 3 knockdowns, and even that's a pretty extreme case. You can reduce the number of knockdowns required by going for ground and pound finishes, but even this is a bit of a crapshoot. Sometimes you'll land multiple shots in the ground and pound and just not get the finish. Other times your opponent will frame a strike and get out. And of course, sometimes you will get a finish off one knockdown with decent ground and pound. But more often than not, your opponent will simply pop right back up after taking a hard knockdown, like Dracula rising from his coffin. So why does the EA UFC series allow so many
Oliveira.
knockdowns?
My opponent is Tapuria. I'd like to get this fight to the ground at my earliest convenience. Leg kick, leg kick, checked leg kick. That's convenient. As my opponent recovers from the check, I get to decide what comes next. Takedown or clinch? Clinch. I'm not going for the trip right away, that's too obvious. Instead, I'll fire off a knee to the body. But that lands, why does it? Here's the thought process. He's worried about being taken down, so he blocks low. Then he sees the knee, which he assumes must be going high, so he blocks high. Instead, the knee goes to the body. The next knee goes to the head. Finally, this uppercut lands because it's just sort of weird and unfair. But hey, he's Tapuria. No mercy for Ilya Tapuria. Now he's on the fence. He's worried about getting clinched again. If he doesn't want to get clinched, he needs to either punch or move his head, either of which will make it very difficult to avoid this takedown. Now we're happy. I am Oliveira. My opponent is Tapuria. I'd like to get this fight to the
We
ground.
about to play now. We about to play the game now. Where's it going? Trying this thing.
Who are not accompanied by a parent or other responsible adult from 10 p.m. until 5 a.m. daily.
Generally, when it's nighttime, that's when things kind of heat up.
What the? I'm just playing. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we bought a lot in or man. Where this man?